What's up, all you motorcycle enthusiasts, and welcome to the Vtwin Life here on YouTube. We talk motorcycles powered by those V-twins, what fuels their passion, why you enjoy it so much. Vtwin Life is brought to you by these two great companies, Crash Inc. Clothing and Wild Ass Seats. Hey, you want to add some comfort to your ass when you're out riding, whether you're a 400-mile guy or maybe a guy that's pushing 1,000 plus, or female rider for that matter? Hey, check out wild-ass.com and add some comfort to your ass. Can't forget Crash Inc. Clothing, that Northwest brand out of the Pacific Northwest. Hey, these guys got a lot of great stuff, from t-shirts to hats, raincoats, you name it. Hey, they can get you covered. Check out crashinclothing.com. Now, let's dive into another milepost of the Vtwin Life.
Well, shoot, man, thanks for taking time out of your time and coming on the Vtwin Life and doing a little episode and talking some motorcycles.
Absolutely, man. It's one of my favorite things in the world.
I know we touched base, God, I think it was months ago. I think that was before I took my little hiatus and took a little time off for the summer for all my family stuff with my son's final season of baseball, and we just kind of focused on that for the summer, and that was our priority.
Good for you, man.
Yeah. So where did motorcycles come into life for you? When did you get the bug?
Yeah, well, it's kind of, I wouldn't call it a long story. My mom's second husband is kind of the person that introduced me to motorcycles, and so one of the first bikes I was ever on was an 85 FXRT. Was one of the first bikes that I was ever on as a passenger, and that was he got that bike brand new, had it custom painted, and we had a sidecar, and we traveled around as a family in Southern California. And so that's where kind of motorcycling and Harleys kind of first entered my life. I was, I suppose, probably I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 years old the first time I was on the back of a bike, and did that as a passenger for a long time. And then motorcycling was really out of my life from that point until I would say in my mid 30s is before, or when I kind of bought my own bike and got back on riding. I got a Kawasaki. It was a Vulcan 800 was the first bike that I got. And it sounds weird, but I kind of felt like I had to earn the Harley, is kind of how I felt a little bit. Harleys are what I knew when I was a kid, but when I started riding, I didn't feel like I was kind of ready for that I don't know, the next step. I wanted to start in something a little bit smaller, and I found a really good deal on a brand new Vulcan 800. And it kind of had the styling. It was a cruiser style bike, had the styling and everything that I was looking for. And so I got that, did a couple things to it, put bar risers on it, a Vance and Hines exhaust, and had it tuned, and was a good little bike for a while. And I had that for about 5 or 6 years.
What year was it?
2000. It was the same year that the anniversary edition Harleys came out with the was it 2005, 2004, 2005, or 2003? I don't. What was the anniversary? Did the 105 anniversary? Was it?
Oh, the 105 was 2008. 03 was the 100th anniversary.
Okay, no. So it was the 100th anniversary bikes is what it was. So it was 03. So
that was similar, because I had my first cruiser when I left the sport bikes where I was gonna deem to hurt myself. I went to I picked up a Boulevard C50. It was I think it was an 05 or an 06, and very similar to the Vulcan. And yeah, it was a great, comfortable bike. Kind of same thing you did. I went to the beach bars on it. Had the windshield, the saddlebag. I put the Cobra slash cuts on it, and that was a good bike. I really no complaints for if somebody I think wanted to get into motorcycles. I think the Boulevard, along with like the Vulcan 800, is a great entry level bike. I mean, plenty of power and comfortable.
Yeah, and unfortunately they Kawasaki has some really killer bikes in that range. Now the W800, that cafe bike, I mean, that thing is awesome. But they they for a while there they changed. So they got rid of the 800 and they went all the way up to a 900, and then they kind of their lines kind of when everybody was doing the kind of the battle of the V twins, right? So they wanted the big, everything needed to be 1800 cc's or more. So, and I don't know if you remember, but in 2000, Kawasaki put out the 2000 Vulcan, and that actually won Bike of the Year that year, and it was the fastest production model at that time in the cruiser style bikes. And
the Vulcan 2000.
Yeah. It was and that thing was a absolute beast. I'm really surprised that more people didn't get that bike and chop it up, because that motor was a hot rod.
It was, and God, what they ended up putting on the back? It was like a 260 tire, I think. It had a hell of a fucking tire too.
Yeah, just about stood up on its own. Yeah, it was a screamer of a bike. But yeah, that's kind of where I started was that Vulcan, and I rode that, like I said, for about 5 or 6 years, and then sold it, and I was out of bikes for about 2 years, and then it's kind of a funny story. My wife, we were kind of in a getting ready to have kids, and we needed some new carpet for our house, and I sold my bike so we could buy new carpet for our house. And my wife said to me, she's like, someday you can get a new bike. And she's like, I promise you can get a new bike. She knew I loved riding. And so we had kind of sold that house. I had a kid already. I'd moved to a different job. I was lying in bed. I remember it was 11:30 on a Tuesday night. And I rolled over. I shook my wife. She was sleeping. I rolled over. I shook her and I said, someday's here. And she said, what are you talking about? And I said, someday you said I could get a new bike. I said, someday's here. And she's like, okay. And she kind of rolls over and goes to sleep. And that Friday, I had a Sportster 1200 Nightster in my garage. So I bought it.
I almost was very similar. I ended up with my Boulevard. I ended up having to sell that. My daughter needed a dental procedure, and I was fighting the insurance company. They wouldn't pay for it. It's like, well, the hell with it. I'll sell the bike and I'll get one next year. Of course, next year moved on to next year. And, mine was a little bit longer when, my daughter fell in love riding horses. My boys started doing the travel baseball. It's like, what? We'll get a bike later. I was, my wife and I, we started kids young enough. It's like, when it happens, it happens. And, for me, it was about a 10-year hiatus between bikes, but,
Sure.
Kind of a similar deal.
Yeah. So then after I got the Sportster, I knew, I knew I would have a bike until I couldn't ride anymore at that point. It was just a matter of, making sure that it was something that I knew, I knew where my passion was, and I knew I just wanted to stay there. I just wanted to stay on bikes at that point.
Yep.
And I knew that once I kind of got the Harley and I was bitten by the bug, I knew I was going to be stuck there. And so I just stayed. I mean, I rode my Sportster for probably 3 years, 2.5, 3 years. And the style of riding I wanted to do, I knew the Sportster wasn't going to be right for what I wanted to do. And so I started looking around for a bigger bike and just fell into an amazing deal on a 2017 Road King Special. And the rest is kind of history from there. So I got that bike and just started traveling, and decided I wanted to. There's some people in a motovlogging world that I was following, and I kind of thought that might be something I was interested in, and so I kind of started doing that. Went to a meetup and made some connections with some friends, and that kind of rolled over into the 5 Dirty Bikers podcast, and it kind of has just blossomed from there. So
did you get your Road King brand new, or was it a year or two old?
So it would be officially classified as a used bike because I got it in 2019, I believe, is when I got it. But the owner bought it brand new, and when he bought it, it was a 2017. He bought it, I think, in 2018. I might be getting the time frame mixed up. I might have gotten it in 18, but anyway, the owner that had the bike had it for 1 year brand new and put on 235 miles. That was it.
Jesus Christ.
And so he knew he wasn't, actually it was the person that worked at the dealership, the finance gal, it was her husband's bike. It was their bike essentially. And so he actually traded down. He traded that in. He bought it brand new, and then he traded down to like a 2014 Electroglide, and traded that bike in. And so when I got it, it had 235 miles on it, but because it had been in someone's garage for a year, essentially, they had to sell it as a used bike. And so I got a great deal on it. It was just before, it was before everything got nuts with the prices and used bikes and, kind of all of that. So I got that bike for a steal. I mean, an absolute steal. So it was a really good deal that I got on it, and have been in love with that bike ever since then.
Jeez, I mean, it hadn't even had its first break-in service yet.
No. I mean, I still, it didn't even have 500 miles. So, and it was interesting. So there used to be a dealership in my hometown, but that dealership did not have the greatest reputation, and was very, very small. They never had a lot of bikes. They never really treated people that went in there. They treated everybody that went in there like they didn't belong. And, so I found this bike. Actually, I found my Sportster and this bike online from a dealership about 150 miles away. And when I bought my Sportster online, I never even test rode it. Did all the paperwork over the phone, or excuse me, did all the paperwork like mailing it back and forth, and they delivered the bike right to my house. When I bought my Road King, same thing. They came and picked up my Sportster. And then I brought it. They came and picked up my Sportster and dropped my Road King off. So it's like I went to work on a Tuesday and came home Tuesday night, and my Road King was sitting in my garage. So,
hey, that ain't bad.
Yeah. So I did have to go for that one. I did have to go sign papers for it, but it was. They have a really, in our area of the country, the dealerships are a little bit spread apart, but because the dealership in my hometown did not have a good reputation. The other dealerships had lots of things that they did to cater to customers on my side of the state. So like if I wanted to get service done on my bike and I wanted it done at that dealership, they would say, okay, we're going to be through your area next Tuesday. Give us a code to your garage. We'll go in your garage. We'll get your bike out. We'll throw it on the trailer. We'll bring it back. We'll, do the service, do the change of oil, whatever you want done. And we'll throw your bike back in the garage when we come through next time. They do that in the wintertime around here so that people can do all their services. And, if you're not a guy that mods your own bikes, they'll do that for you in the wintertime. And it allows them to continue to have service work for their drivers over the winter, or their repair guys over the winter.
There's a few dealerships up here that, for me, the closest one is a little over an hour, probably an hour and a half away. But, you got a few more within the Puget Sound area of Washington. And they make a trip like, I think there's one of them is out here every week. Another one, it's every other week. But, guys, like, say it's pouring rain the day your appointment comes, or, you can schedule in advance. They just come out with their trailer and, they'll do loops of the Olympic Peninsula. They'll pick up the bike, take it to their shop, and it could be a week, 2 weeks later, they're coming back. Then they bring the bike back to you.
Yeah.
It's kind of a cool deal for some people because, I don't know, I guess they just want to get it done. Maybe their work schedule, they can't be off work that day. So, having a dealership that does kind of, I don't know if you want to say go the extra mile, but does that pickup service is a great feature for a lot of people.
Yeah. It's great for us here because, like I said, we have, I won't ride now again until at least March or April. So the weather is just way too bad, way too cold, way too snowy, that kind of stuff. So, we have 4 or 5 months. For me, I call it the mod seasons. I don't work on my bike unless it breaks down when the weather's nice. So when it's cold out, that's when I try to do all my modifications, all my, like any of my install videos or mod videos or review videos typically come out in the wintertime because, when the weather's nice, I'm riding. So.
Yeah. Cause you're North Dakota?
I am in North Dakota. Yep. I'm in Grand Forks. I'm about 100 miles from the Canadian border.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I guess technically you say where I live, Port Angeles, where I, be considered a border town. You can hop the ferry here and go over to, well, I think the ferry's running again. It's been closed with COVID.
Oh, sure.
Consider us a border town because you normally could hop the ferry and go over to Vancouver Island.
Right. Yeah,
So you
we're a
enjoy
little bit.
traveling?
What's that?
You enjoy traveling by motorcycle whenever you can?
Oh man, yeah, that is long distance riding on my bike is absolutely my favorite thing to do. So I think this last year I put 13,000 miles on my bike. So yeah, I was in, I'm trying to think, 12 or 13 states this last year. So yeah, every year we plan quite a few trips where we did a 930-mile loop around our state, visited all the dealerships in our state. So we drove across the state, which is about 430 miles or so, and went to all the dealerships all the way across the state. Then we camped at a state park at the end of the state, and then drove back the next day. So in under 48 hours, we drove just under 1,000 miles. Um, we did. We rode obviously to Kentucky for our Five Dirty Bikers meetup. We did that in October. We went camping in Duluth along the shores of Lake Superior last year. So yeah, and then I went to Illinois on a trip to see Dustin from the Five Dirty Bikers podcast. So yeah, I really enjoy. And then every Saturday, we almost all summer long, every Saturday or Sunday, we'd go on some trip riding between 150 and 300 miles, and we would go have lunch somewhere and then ride back. So really, for me, it's the long distance riding that I enjoy the most.
It is a lot of fun. God, now think about you're talking about doing a loop around the state where you live, hitting the Harley dealerships. That's a killer idea. I might have to think of that in the spring.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and really what we did was we just kind of planned a route and camped one day. So the goal was we initially were going to try to do it all in one day, but we knew that we weren't going to be able to hit the business hours all in one day. So we did it over the course of 2 days to hit all the dealerships, and then camped in between there. So camped in a state park, which was really cool. I mean, woke up in the morning and there was buffalo standing outside of our tents, and so yeah, and it was like free range camping, no amenities except a bathroom, essentially. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. And that probably the hardest part about that was, at the end of your long ride, you set up camp and your camp's only going to be up for 12 hours. You know what I mean? You set up camp and then you take down camp and pack your bike and get on the road again. So that was probably the most difficult part of it. But 2 summers ago, we did the area up near Sturgis, and we camped there for 6 days and rode all over that area. Devil's Tower, Badlands, went through all the Sturgis area, did Spearfish Canyon, all of the kind of the big rides around Needles Highway, Iron Mountain Road, did kind of all of those things in the Sturgis area, which I would highly suggest any motorcyclist that that hasn't been up that area, go up there when Sturgis is not happening, so you can actually ride the roads when they're not overcrowded. It's some of the best riding in the country. You coming from where you are, though, in Washington, you'd ride through a ton of the best riding just to get there.
I've gone halfway. I mean, I did that. It wasn't last year. It was the summer before. I guess, well, we're 21, so it would have been 19. The ride 1K a day, I went to Missoula from Port Angeles, which Missoula would be the halfway point. That was like 500. And then I headed south, went up over Lolo Pass through the Bitterroots and looped around Boise down to my brother's in Kuna, which is just southwest of Boise, southwest. And that was an absolute blast. I mean, coming down, I went up over Lolo. It started pouring rain, and it was triple digits. I'm like, fuck, this kind of sucks. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, this isn't bad. You're kind of cooling down. It's like, all right, I can deal with this. And I think the rain lasted 5 minutes and was right back into an oven as I started going down the other side. And then hitting, the Idaho Panhandle, getting down toward close to Boise. I still in some of that backcountry, beautiful area, the sun setting over the hills. And it was an absolute gorgeous ride through Idaho. I spent a week down there. And my son was also playing baseball. So my wife's like, hey, you've always wanted to go do 1,000 miles a day. She goes, why don't you just do it? And I'm like, cool. Packed the bike. I said, I'm going to leave in the morning. I'll see you the next day.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
Idaho is super unique. Did you know that they have a Volcano National Park in Idaho?
I did not.
Yeah, I didn't. My wife and I drove through there in a car one time, and Idaho has a lot of really unique topography that I didn't know about until I kind of drove through it on my way to um, where were we going? We were going to Utah and drove through part of Idaho and just some beautiful country up there. But yeah, we're planning on doing Beartooth Pass next summer. So
I want to do that same one. That would be a lot of fun.
yeah, a buddy of mine did that. And he, and if you've been to Yellowstone, he said, this is what he told me, because he did Yellowstone last year too. He said, don't do Yellowstone on a bike. He said, it's not, he said it really wasn't very fun because he said the people that are in Yellowstone are looking around and they're not really looking out for motorcyclists. You know what I mean? They're looking out their windows of their car and not really paying attention. It's overly crowded, so it's a lot of stop and go. So your bike's going to get really hot. And so you don't have a lot of open road to travel. He said, go through Yellowstone if you want to bring the family out there, do that in a car. But he said, if you're going to do the other rides, Beartooth Pass and that kind of stuff, that you want to do on a bike because that's amazing.
Yeah, I know I've had some friends. My dad's done it, and some other guys, and it's on my list. I want to get over it also to the Devil's Tower.
Yeah, it's interesting because the riding around Devil's Tower sucks. I mean, we went out there when we went out to Devil's Tower, it was, oh man, it was 90, probably 97, 98 degrees. And it's basically just what it is. It's this huge outcropping in the middle of nowhere. You'll see it when you're probably 30, 40 miles away. You'll see it. And you'll be like, oh, there it is. And then you realize, yeah, still have 30 or 40 miles to get to it. So, you just kind of, you just drive to it. You drive up to it. Then you can walk up to the base, take your pictures, get on your bike and drive away. Because there's really no riding around it that's fun. I mean, it's pretty much, it's probably, I want to say maybe 10, 15 miles, 20 miles off the interstate. It's not very far. But
yeah,
it's really, it's really incredible, though, because there's nothing out there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, getting there and being able, I'd love to go see the Tetons and some of that area. There's, I want to venture farther east. Have a plan for my dad and I. We're hoping within, I don't know if we can do it next year, probably be the year after, hit the East Coast and
sure
go from one corner to the other and check out a lot of sites and some of the. I'd love to hit down through the Ozarks, through the Smoky Mountains, and just go for a ride and just. Go cross country with them and enjoy it because none of us are getting younger, so might as well do it sooner than later.
Right. And there's so many great areas in the country to ride, and it's amazing. You get from state to state and how different the topography is, and how each state kind of has their own thing, and it's great. And people have asked me that a few times too, like do you want to ride overseas or do anything like that? And I would say honestly, there's so much in the United States to explore before I would even think about wanting to ride overseas that I'm going to be perfectly happy exploring the United States because there's a lot of stuff to see. I mean, I know Tennessee is amazing. I'd love to ride through Tennessee and even like the horse country in Kentucky that we rode this last summer, just beautiful areas. There's the Great River Road that rides along the Mississippi and Illinois and, kind of like the south of Chicago area. That's all that area. It's just, there's so many areas to ride that are just beautiful and just every state and every area brings something different and new that you wouldn't see somewhere else. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And, it's like you're talking about, Tennessee, of course, it's so popular. But the other one I've really heard about from numerous people is like you get up New York, you upstate, and the Catskills, I guess, is just some great country. And, I've heard a bunch about that area. But, yeah, you get, Maine. It's like you said, every state has something that is going to be amazing to see. And, they all have something to offer. And, yeah, there's a lot to see within the borders of our own countries for sure.
Yeah, it's just like, the people that I think – and I think what happens too is I've asked other people this, when they live in an area that's like what I would consider to be like a destination area for riding, do you take it for granted? You know what I mean? And some people absolutely do. You know what I mean? They just take it for granted that they can ride all the time, or they can or they have this really unique feature about riding there. But once you've done it a few times, you just don't think about it anymore. It doesn't, it's
Yeah.
it's not anything that you find exciting because you see it every day. And I think that's part of it. I've said that even about North Dakota, right? There's very few places in the country you can go where you can get out of town and you can see literally 50 to 100 miles straight down a road, and the horizon, the land and the sky meet. And that's just something that's unique about our area of the country. I mean, in the summertime, our longest day of the year, it will be light out at 10 o'clock.
Yeah. We get that here, same thing. It's like here you can go, my family, we enjoy going out to the coast. We can head out, we're right on, we can camp on right on the damn near on the beach on the Pacific Ocean, and
sure,
watching that sunset go down where the sun, I mean, as far as you can see, the water meets the horizon, and
yep,
you watch that sun go down. Man, I've seen some absolutely amazing sunsets, and like I said, in the summertime, 9 to 10 o'clock at night when the sun finally goes down, it's dark. Man, it's a beautiful place to live out here when you can watch the sun go down over the ocean, and it's gorgeous.
Yeah, and you
nice
can
summer evenings.
Yeah, for sure. And in your area, you can head down the coastline, and Oregon is kind of all that wooded and kind of hilly area, hill country, and you have a lot of unique, I would say, unique riding in your area.
Yeah, we're known as like with Port Andos, where the mountains meet the sea. There's not many places where you can go from sea level hanging at the beach and go take a 45-minute drive and be in the snow of the mountains in the same area.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's definitely it definitely brings a new level of riding to or uniqueness of riding to where you guys are at, for sure.
Yeah, and it is a beautiful ride here. One big one up here that's popular in the summertime is the Olympic Peninsula Loop. You can ride along the Strait of Juan de Fuca, head down the coast on 101 on the Pacific Ocean there, and then you cut across the bottom and come up Hood Canal along the south end of Puget Sound. And yeah, that's a gorgeous ride. It's a little over 300 miles, but it's very easy to make that a whole day, especially if you want to make a few stops on the coast, enjoying the sights. Stop a little town of Forest, grab some food. Basically, if you want to have a picnic out on, Claylock is a great place, or Mora. It's another good beach out on the Pacific coast, and enjoy the sights and just kind of enjoy the beach, hop back on the bike and keep going. I know I've done that a few times, rode out to Claylock just to, grab a soda, have a sandwich, and enjoy the sights, and then head back.
Yeah, I always say too, even if you're taking it for granted where you're riding, like any day on a bike is a good day. Anytime you just have that opportunity to get out on your bike and unwind and, get out on the open road. And I tell my buddies that I ride with, they ride with music a lot in their helmets. And I actually don't. I ride silent a lot in my helmet. And I just like to kind of take it in. You know what I mean? Whatever it is, if it's just hearing the wind or, kind of smelling your surroundings, whatever it is, I don't ride with a lot of music. I do sometimes if I know, like if we're on a long trip and we got 1,200 miles over the course of 2 days and we're going to put in 2 long days of riding, some of that time I'll throw some music in just because it, kind of helps break it up a little bit. But usually when you're putting on those kind of miles, you're going through multiple states. And so your surroundings are changing, and you get gas, and your next gas stop, you might be close to another border of another state. And so, it provides a lot of variety from that perspective too. So.
Yeah, see, I enjoy music. Sometimes I'll turn it on, but for me to ride the road glide, I do got the stereo on the bike, and I've recently finally went to a full face, from a half helmet.
Sure.
And of course, I mean, I don't hear it as well. I do have a comm unit, but I don't really listen to a lot of music in my helmet. I might just turn it on the bike. I can't hear it as well now, but it doesn't bother me. But sometimes just you can get a little good tune whether I want to flip up the visor and I can hear it a little bit more. And I don't know, being also a drive truck, I mean, I listen to a lot of music, podcasts, and it's just music is something I really enjoy, and it just helps time go by sometimes. Whether I actually pay attention when I'm riding or not, it's another story. But I got thousands of songs on my old phone. I basically used my old one as my basically an iPod.
Oh, sure.
I'll just hit shuffle and throw it in the freaking pocket and go.
Right. That's interesting to me that you you drive truck, and then on your off time, you still like to spend time on a bike. That's that's interesting. But I guess, I mean, driving a truck is nothing like riding a motorcycle as far as that goes. So, you kind of go from this giant vehicle to something much smaller. So,
yeah, the road rage can get a little less on a motorcycle for sure. You do get those days where, you kind of wish maybe you had twin 50 caliber machine guns on the hood or a massive push bumper, because it can get frustrating and piss you off. But, the other things, it's, I've gone to a lot of different places. You find more places out of the way also. And very fortunate, right. I guess, when it came to exploring the Northwest, when my boys started doing baseball, we were going all over. And I think baseball also really helped find a lot of these little hole-in-the-wall places that I've actually gone back to. And, on the motorcycles, hey, the wife and I, you remember this place? Yeah, let's go down this road. I enjoy more traveling on the 2-lane road. If I don't have to hop on the super slab, I don't want to. There are those times where, you're going somewhere, you got to do a little bit of the interstate, but man, I'll take a 2-lane back highway every time I can.
Yeah, I have a group of guys that I travel with, and unfortunately for us, we're kind of in this position now where, for us to get anywhere, we have to super slab out of the state. You know what I mean? Yeah. So we typically like to do a combination of things. And more oftentimes than not, we're destination riding. So we're riding somewhere that we want to ride. And so we're trying to get there so we can spend some time there riding. And so that usually means we need to get there, on the super slab for most of the journey. So,
which is understandable. I mean, sometimes you got to do it. That's just how it is. But no, I totally get that. I mean, there's times like I'm going down to Idaho on one of the trips, want to get there. So you got to spend, that day and whatnot on the big highway, and you just do it. And then once you get down there, then you can just enjoy all the back roads and go explore.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's kind of one of those, I don't know. I understand both sides of it, right? I think if you need to get somewhere, you have to get on the super slab. But if you want to explore, obviously, like you said, the 2-lane roads are just where it's at.
Yeah, it's the nature of the beast.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they both, obviously the super slab serves a purpose, and the nice riding is going to be, typically off of the beaten path. You know what I mean? So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's like up here, you got, if you're going east, you got the main I-90, you get over the Cascades, but there is, 3 other, well, depending, you can turn off few, but you have your other choices of mountain passes that are way more scenic and a lot more enjoyable riding. But, if you got to get somewhere, then, hop I-90, you're going to get there quicker than some of the other ones. But it just depends on your timetable, what you got going on.
Right. Yeah, we more oftentimes than not, like we try to plan a lot of trips like over a weekend too. So like our Thursday, Friday, our Monday, Tuesday might be our travel days. So we're trying to put down a lot of miles in front of the time that we want to be there. So,
yeah,
you really just have to find what works for you. I mean, in terms of your riding. And I tell anybody, because we get this a lot in our podcast, people want to know what the best bike is for this and the best bike is for that and the best bike is for this. And my answer kind of is become really canned, and it's kind of always the same, which is you got to know how you want to ride, first of all, right? If you're a bar hopper, don't buy a touring bike because they're big and they're heavy, and it's probably not going to serve the purpose for you. But if you want to do cross country riding, I mean, they don't get any better than a touring bike. I mean, that's what they're built to do. They're built for long hauls all over the road. They have bags, they have amenities to make that style of trip easy for you. Can you do that? You can use any bike to do any of those things. I mean, if you've ever watched if you haven't watched it, you should. It's really good. There's a movie called, it's kind of a take on Ewan McGregor's The Long Way Down.
Mm-hmm.
And this one is, I think it's called The Slow Ride Across or something like that. And basically these guys do a cross country trip on scooters.
Yeah. It's actually, they do it yearly.
Yeah. And so, those things don't go over 40 miles an hour, and they drive them all the way across the country. So anything on 2 wheels is going to get you where you want to go. It just depends on, do you have the right tool for the job? That's kind of how I like to put it.
And it comes down to your setup. It's like you're saying, I mean, I ride a bagger. I love it. It was my end goal years ago, it's like, actually the biggest thing that I wanted was hard bags. I've done
Sure.
a lot of riding with, the leather saddlebags, and, you know, you always run the chance of getting caught in the rain.
Yeah.
Getting to that ending destination, especially having hard bags where you have something dry to put on after you've been pounding miles in the rain is a great feeling. But take a setup. You can take any platform. I mean, I can name guys that are great examples. You outfit that bike and set it up to fit your statute, what you want to do, and anything's going to work. Like Von Gasfall, guy just lays down so many miles. And, he's riding a Dyna, and guy goes everywhere. I mean, he's done, the 50cc cross country in under 50 hours. I mean, he lays down serious miles, but he's outfit that bike to fit his statute, his riding style, and it's great. Like I said, a touring bike, if you're going to want to do serious miles, that's the way to go. But nothing says that you can't do it on another bike as long as, take the time and get what fits you, make that bike your own and your style for what you want to do, and go have fun.
Yeah, for sure. I always try to tell people too, riding a motorcycle or even having a Harley, it's not a dick measuring contest. You know what I mean? Like I got nothing to prove to anybody. I ride how I ride. My bike is set up for me, like it or not. I mean, everybody has their own style, their own taste, their own flair. To me, that's what I love about it. I love when I pull into a place where I'm going to meet a bunch of guys that have their bikes, so I can look at what somebody else has done. We had our meetup this last year, and one of the guys that showed up on an older style. Man, it wasn't a Dyna. I can't think of what I don't remember what it was, but anyway, it was the whole engine was chrome. He had really tall ape hangers on there, had an old school flame paint job. It had the old flare fender that goes straight off the back instead of curling down over the tire. They did that in the Dynas for a while in the early 2000s. And it was his first time motorcycle camping, and it was his first time taking a long trip. And he had this, really, really nice bike. And he was a young guy, military guy. And he was in his, he's in his 20s, right? 25 probably years old. And, but his was the bike there that I liked the most, just because when he pulled up and he stopped and he got off his bike, it was the one bike that you looked at and you're like, that's a cool bike. Like, you know what I mean? Like it just looked really cool, and he just looked like a badass riding it. But would I have wanted to ride that bike across the country? No way in hell. There's no way in hell I would have wanted to ride that bike across the country. He had no windshield, no wind protection. I mean, he was getting his ass kicked the whole time down the road because he was like, his arms are up in the air like this, so he's like a big wind flare, and it looked incredibly uncomfortable to ride for a long distance. But it was a hella cool bike, and it just goes to show you. But he loved it, and he loved the kind of old school chopper vibe that it had, and he just strapped everything on that he wanted to take on his trip, and did it just super old school. Basically had like an army green duffel bag strapped on that bad boy, and strapped another bag on his front bars and called it good. So, you do, for him it worked perfectly.
And that's what I like, a lot of going down, what you're talking about is, a lot of people, what should I do to my bike? What should I do this? It's like, the best thing I like to say is, you know what? It's a blank canvas. Make it yours. Build what you want.
Is that the rain?
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy, man.
Actually, my little top's over phone. 1 second. Yeah, I got an old cast iron pot to keep water in. Running a fire, and we'll put little wax in it just for, smelly shit. And now I figured out how come it's getting all over the stove. It started boiling over.
Oh, man.
A little wax on the stove is always good.
No, it's not going to hurt anything.
No, it's an old cast iron pot belly stove.
Yeah,
but it works great.
It's really important, I think, for anybody that's going to ride, and just to know how you want to ride. First of all, I think that's for a lot of people get into motorcycling, they don't know. You know what I mean? They don't know how they want to ride, and so I think that you just got to try it out. You know, if you feel like you want to do a long distance trip, get on your bike and do a long distance trip. You might find out that you liked the trip, but your bike isn't set up to do it. So now you know what mods you need to do to your bike to get it to do what you want it to do. Or, you know, if you want to and find, I think the other thing that's important too is find people that are like-minded as you are. If you're looking to ride with people, you want people that are going to have your same kind of riding style and interests in mind. You know what I mean? There's nothing worse than getting in with a group of riders that they want to go long distance and you want to bar hop, or, you know, vice versa or whatever, because then you're not with the right group of people. You're always going to be doing something that you don't want to do, or you're wanting to do something else.
And I think the other thing that goes along with that is long distance could be something different to Joe Blow than what it is to you.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
To you, you know, a 500-600 mile day, hey, that might be long distance, but you know, there is those other guys where long distance to them, you know, it's 1,000+ miles a day or 800, and going from 600 to 800 miles, if you're not ready, or, you know, it's not your thing, that extra 200 miles can be brutal. And that's the other thing is we all have our own limits, and you know, just because they do it doesn't mean that you got to go try it right offhand. I think, you know, break yourself into it a little bit. Go do a 300, 400 miles. Say, okay, how do I feel? You know, is my setup working for me? Whether, you know, handlebar position, hell, you know, is your ass fucking comfortable still? There's a lot of other things that are going to come into it, and you got to figure out where you're at in that scenario. And it's not going to be the same as everybody. So, you know, dive in slowly.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. And that's we mentioned it on the live stream the other night. You know, points of contact where your rider triangle and where you touch your bike is totally going to make the biggest difference in your comfort level on your bike. You know, or you know what? Do you have the right bike for what you want to do? You know, I don't know. I think it's this interesting scenario I see right now that I see kind of two different sides of it, which is there's a lot of young people are really getting into motorcycling on the, like, what I would consider to be grassroots of it, right? They're getting into the kind of the chopper culture, the, you know, DIY, that kind of stuff. And not that it's any less expensive, because it's really not. It's just a little bit more of a tinkering culture where, like, for me, for instance, I like modding my bike too, but really, more than anything, I like riding my bike, and I want to know that I have a dependable bike that I can just go out of my garage, start it up, and ride it for 200, 300, 400, 500 miles and not have to worry about it, you know?
Yeah. And, you know, I think that also comes down to, you know, keeping up just on your maintenance. Pay attention to things, whether, you know, YouTube is a great way. Hey, you want to learn some things? That's great. You know, if you're the kind of guy that just doesn't want to dive into it, then, you know, use your local mechanic, whatever shop you like, but keeping up on that standard maintenance is sure going to make your bike go a lot farther. And the simple things, like, you know, for you, say your bike's been down 5-6 months, you know, simple things, you know, air pressure, you know, if your bike's sat that long, it's been a few months, you're going to go for a ride, take the extra minute, you know, just check your tires. Cause, you know, having a low tire on a motorcycle is, it could be a bad thing. They're just simple things, you know, check your fluids. Just, hey, my oil's still good. You know, how's my tranny, my primary, you know, just take that extra second if you haven't ridden in a while, just to make sure that everything's ready to go, and hey, go rip some miles, have a good time.
Yeah. Well, and air pressure, I mean, the fact that you bring that up, that was one thing when I talked to, we have a local shop here in town, and I was getting new tires this summer, and tires are really hard to come by right now. And he goes, it's amazing to him how many people ride with very, very, very low tire pressure in their motorcycle. You know, not only is it dangerous, like you said, but it just wears your tire out so much faster. Mm-hmm. And, you know, right now in the time that we're in, it's difficult to get a tire. They're not cheap. They're expensive. And, you know, you're riding with, you know, 20 pounds of air pressure in your tire. So you're going to wear it out after 500 miles or 1,000 miles when you know that tire should have been good for 10 grand. It just doesn't make good sense, you know? Just like you said,
I got 21,000 out of my last rear.
Oh, that's crazy, dude. That good for you. Good for you.
Yeah, it was awesome. But yeah, mine's already. She just got new front tire and new rear tire just before the end of summer. Put new tires on it, and which is fortunate. Like with my dad, we both ride. We enjoy riding together. So his shop up in his garage, we got the bike lift. He got a tire changer, so we can do our own tires, and we do pretty much 90% of our own maintenance. And he's up actually right now putting new cams in his 2019. He upgraded the cams, push rods, true duals, and putting a new programmer in it right now.
Oh wow, look at that! So his bike's gonna be like a brand new machine when he starts riding it again.
Yeah, pretty much was too. I don't think he was around 20,000 on it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So yeah, but he wanted a little bit more. Wanted to up the ponies a little bit.
Sure. So he has you said he has a 2019, so he's in the M8 then.
Yep. Yeah, he's at the 107.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. If you put a cam in the 107, it really wakes that motor up a lot for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I did that. See, mine's an 04, so I got the 88, but it's been bumped to 95. I got the gear-driven cams in it, and it's got miles, but I'm the second owner. The first was my dad, and
okay,
there's a lot of history how I got the bike, but it's
got
that sentimental value, and like I said, it comes down to you take care of them; they'll go a long time. And what was cool in the saddlebag, I can open up the tour pack. There's a little black book, and it has every service and everything that my dad ever did to it. I mean, even coming down to the dates where he checked the tire pressure, every oil change, new tires, air filters, primary. I mean, every bit of history maintenance is written down in that book. The date, mileage, and everything has been done since day one.
Nice. That's really cool. That's really cool. Yeah, there's nothing like a when you have getting a used bike from somebody that has been well maintained, because everybody's like, oh, is this high miles for this bike? Well, I don't know. How was it ridden? Was it taken care of?
Yeah.
Did they do the service intervals? You could have somebody gives you a 10,000 mile bike, but they were redlining every, stoplight. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Just cracking through the gears and redline all the way through. It's got 10,000 miles. That motor's running like it's got 100,000 on it, right? Or you can have somebody with a bike that's got 50,000 miles and it was owned by somebody who's, washing it and waxing it every time they go for a ride and crazy meticulous about all of the service intervals and everything. That bike is going to go for much longer. So it's all relative to how the bikes have been taken care of. And usually, somebody told me one time, a good rule of thumb, if you want to know how well a bike has been taken care of, and you're going to buy a used bike from somebody, you want to know how well it's been taken care of, take the seat off.
Heck, good point.
If you take the seat off and you look right there underneath the seat and it looks like a squirrel's been living in there, that bike has not been well taken care of. If you take the seat off and the hole underneath of that seat is clean and well taken care of, that they're probably following service intervals and doing what they need to do to take care of their bike.
Yeah. And, God, I think that could come down, pop a saddlebag off. Look at the back side of a saddlebag.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, I don't like mine. If I get caught in, some nasty rain or whatnot, bad weather, I'll pull all the bags off, clean behind them. In the summertime, I might go every other wash. I'll pull off the saddlebags and wash behind them if it's just, I'm cleaning up because of, dusty or whatnot, just conditions. All depends. But, you see so many people also that bugs the hell out of me with these brand new bikes, and they look like they're 50 years old because they don't ever clean them. They're just disgustingly dirty, and my God, it just eats at me. Why do you spend that much money and you don't want to take care of it?
Yep. And most of those people are going to say it's my money. You know what I mean? I
got a point.
I bought the bike. I ride it how I want to ride it. I didn't buy it to wash it. I bought it to ride it. I get that, right? I understand that concept, but man, if you just take care of your bike, it's gonna take care of you. I mean, it's gonna go much longer and have a much better life if you take care of it than if you just don't do anything to it. I mean, just like you said, perfect example. We were coming back from Sturgis, so there was 4 of us riding together. Actually, we're coming back from Devil's Tower. We pulled over at a gas station, and there was a kind of an older gentleman there. His bike was a 2019, and just like you said, it had never been washed. It had, barely had any service done to it. When he pulled over, he complained about the cost, the cost of the bike and how bikes are so expensive now. and it sounded like it was going to explode. And he had pulled into the gas station because something was running weird. He couldn't get his bike started again. We stayed there with him, helped him get it going. He had some loose connections or whatever. We got everything connected. He got his bike started again, went down the road. By the time we got down to the road, he was waving us on. One of the guys stopped over. His bike was running on one cylinder. It was a 2019, and it was running on one cylinder already because he had really just beat the piss out of it. And I just was like, none of that was necessary, you know? I mean, if you would have taken care of your bike a little bit, it wouldn't be in the condition that it was in.
Oh, that's very true. Yeah, and you take care of it, it's going to take care of you.
Yeah, for sure. But again, it's it kind of goes back to that same thing. People are like, "Well, it's my money. I do with it what I want." You got to respect that too, I guess. It is what it is.
Yeah. Not much you do, but you just look at it and me, I'll just shake my head and say, all right, whatever, man.
Right. I'm not gonna, like I said, I'm not gonna get into a pissing match with someone over how they clean or don't clean their bike or whatever. We tease amongst my friends all the time on the 5 Year Bikers podcast, because one of our buddies, Tony, he has a whole kind of routine. He goes after he goes for a ride, fills up with gas before he goes home, and then he will kind of clean his bike before he puts it away, and that's his routine every time. And kind of follows that routine every time he rides his bike. And we kind of give him crap about how, his bike has never seen dust or dirt or anything. And it's because but that's his routine. He likes a bike that looks new and well taken care of. Anytime he gets on a ride and goes somewhere, he wants somebody to look at his bike and see that it looks, spot on all the time.
I got a buddy like that, and he kind of rubbed off of me, on a trip one time. It's day 2. We're out there getting ready. He opens one saddlebag, and it's like a detail kit. Pulls out the cleaner, starts cleaning everything, wiping it down. I'm like, that's not a bad idea. I've basically done the same thing. I got one saddlebag. I got my toolkit, sockets that I have that, plus my other little bag of tools. And then, I got some Lucas speed cleaner, and then the bug slide. I got a bunch of detail rags, and, in the morning, wipe down all the bugs, clean it off, and go.
Yeah, I have actually started doing the same thing. I carry same thing. I have a microfiber cloth, bug slide, that kind of stuff. And honestly, since you started wearing a full face helmet, you're going to find out that bug slide is going to come in handy, because, we're on if you're taking a long trip, you're going over 500-600 miles in a day. I'll use that bug slide a couple times a day to clean off my face shield.
Mm-hmm. It works good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, clean off the front of your bike, get that windshield, that fairing all nice and clean off your windshield. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, a little bit of extra visibility is a great thing.
Yeah, without
that bug slide is some awesome shit.
It does its job. Honestly, for a cleaner too, one of the things I really like about it for a cleaner is it smells good.
You know what I mean? The Lucas cleaner I have smells like freaking candy. It's like get on your hands, like, God damn, it smells good.
I know. And then when you spray your helmet, then you don't have to worry about like your, getting like weird, nasty smelling fumes inside of your helmet.
But until you go by a dairy farm.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, shoot, man. Thanks for, taking time out of your day and coming on and sharing some stories. By the way, I did want to thank you for, the other night we're on that live stream, you made the comments about, the memorial post I did for Leo. And, thank you for your comments and your feedback on that. It meant a lot to me.
Absolutely. I think, that situation really reminded me too, that we never know as motorcyclists, we always talk about our community, the size of our community, and we always do these things for each other and that kind of stuff. And sometimes you don't know the reach that somebody has in a community or what they mean to a community or whatever until they're not with us anymore. And, it was kind of a unique situation, I think, for all of us. Like I said, on there is that, our event was the last event that Leo rode at, and it was the last time he and Tina rode together. And so we were kind of directly connected to that. And he was probably the third guest that we ever had on our podcast. Leo was, and
he was my first.
Yeah. And so he's always been one of those people that, Leo was unapologetically himself, but if you ever met him and you ever were around him in person, he always took the time. I mean, at our events, you saw him. He was talking to everybody, and really, really was a great ambassador for the riding part of our motorcycle community. You know what I mean? Leo liked to put on miles. He liked to ride. He liked to be at events and be where things were happening. And and for him, it was all about the people that were at those events. It was never about the size of the event. He showed up for the people, and I really thought that was one of the things that was so amazing, and just a good guy, a veteran of our armed services, and he will greatly be missed. And so it was no great feat for me to you really, you didn't have to do what you did either, Denver, and you just took out some time and said, here, I want to shed some light on a guest I had on and what he meant to your podcast and to the community as a whole. And so for me to acknowledge that, it was nothing, man. It was just, it needed to be done. It should have been done. And I was glad that you were doing kind of some of the same things that we were doing and trying to bring light to Leo and to his situation, and he's definitely going to be missed by his family and friends for sure, and throughout the motorcycling community. So,
yeah, and honestly, I mean, when it comes to, it was a great thing to do, and when it comes to credit, it was actually almost my wife's idea. She was like, hey, because I told her about it because my family, they listen to all this stuff. I get a lot of feedback, ideas. Hey, they throw different ideas at me, and when I told her that day that she passed, she's like, I think it was the next day, she's like, hey, why don't you re-release this episode, do like a memorial? And I'm like, God, that's a hell of an idea. And then then I thought, what if I can reach out to some people, get guys that got to more interact, like Dave Pabello, the owner of Custom Dynamics, and like Dustin Thacker. We messaged back and forth, and he asked me, he goes, hey, can I just send it to you an email? He goes, I've thought about it over and over. He's like, I just emotionally, goes, there's no way I could do it myself, whether it was over the phone. He goes, would you mind reading it? I'm like, hey, that's not a problem. And then we had Rusty Beggar and a few other guys, but it was neat to hear the other people's stories that also got to interact with him and kind of shared that beforehand. And then the first one became Milepost 39 of the Veterans Memorial Highway.
Yeah, that was great. And Dustin's from our podcast, so
yeah,
Dustin rode down to his memorial ride event in Missouri. And the irony behind that is one of Leo's, and you probably saw this, but I thought this was amazing. And I told the gentleman that did this, one of Leo's friends contacted the dealership that had Leo's old Road Glide, and it had not been sold yet. And so he contacted the dealership and said, hey, can I come up there and grab Leo's bike and bring it down for the memorial ride? And they were absolutely on board. So he went to Indianapolis, awesome, where Leo had traded in the Road Glide for his Pan America, and they gave him the Road Glide. He brought it down to Missouri, and then he rode that Road Glide at the memorial event. So both of Leo's previous bikes that everybody kind of knew him for were at his memorial ride. So his current Pan America that he was riding and his Road Glide brought down by one of his buddies from Indianapolis. So yeah, it was really cool. It was really cool. And I, kind of gave him a shout out on Instagram and said, that was an amazing thing for you to do, to have brought Leo's bike down, and just a great tribute to him, and something that Leo would have really latched onto and really appreciated, that somebody had done that and thought that much of him and what he did to bring that down and have all of that, kind of both of his bikes in the same place. And that Billiard Blue Road Glide put a lot of miles.
Beautiful bike.
Yeah, across this country. I mean, he drove that thing, north, south, east, west, all over this country, and it was, pretty known as his bike. And I think that he was really looking forward to the Pan America doing the same thing for him. So. Mm-hmm.
Well, the cool thing is Tiffany's keeping it. She's actually in the process. I think she's got her endorsement now. She picked up a Honda CB 550 that she's learning to ride and get familiar with and comfortable. And then she will be moving to the Pan American and she wants to take it around.
Yeah, Tina, she posted a post not too long ago. She had rode it around a parking lot. So
Yeah.
and she made that post about that Honda, saying, "I wonder what Leo thinks of me riding a Honda." And then she had remembered that his first bike that he
Yep.
learned to ride on was a Honda.
I think it was that Honda 400. I think it was.
Yeah. So it's going to come full circle, and I'm glad for her, because I actually mentioned this to my wife. I said, I felt terrible for Tina in the respect that she was suffering two losses at the same time. Not only a loss of Leo, but a separation from a community that she had become such a part of, with all the miles that she'd been riding with Leo. And I think that she felt this connection to a community that she really wanted to continue to be a part of. And I think that was probably a huge motivator for her to wanting to get her license. I don't know for sure, because I haven't talked to her about this, but this in my brain, I'm thinking that, she would really have wanted to just stay a part of this community and start riding on her own. And what a great tribute to Leo, right? To start riding on her own and continue to be a part of that community that it just, that really just brings you in and kind of holds on to you. And she's really gonna be able to, I think, continue to follow in some of the things he was doing in terms of, being around and being at events and going on rides and that kind of stuff. So it'll be
And her
good.
plan was to go down and take the riding course through Rusty Bagger and have him be her instructor and get
Oh,
her
yeah?
endorsement through his class. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So that's, another little circle that it takes, staying within the community of guys that, we're familiar with it. And I think it's cool. I mean, I got to talk to her a few times, and, she's a great person, and, another person that through this little adventure that I became friends with and built a friendship with. And, it's an awesome community that we're all part of.
Yeah. And I can never say enough things about that. And I think that the people outside of the community, I think, have a much different perception of the motorcycling community than once you get in the community. I mean, the motorcycling community is one of the most generous communities that you can be a part of anywhere, right? I mean, somebody gets into an accident, people rally around and people help. Somebody needs help with their family, somebody needs help with whatever, people rally around and they help. And it's really a very generous and giving community, and it gives a lot back to the people that are involved. On the outside, all they see is you and I, Denver. They see, these big, hairy, kind of burly, scowl faced guys, and they make this assumption that we are a certain way. And little do they know what the motorcycling community is like once you get on the inside.
Yeah. No, you have a very true point.
You buy a ticket, you pay for admission, but once you're in, you're in. After that, it doesn't take a lot, right? It's kind of like the whole thing, right? Don't be a dick, and everything else is going to work out.
There you go. So, well, shoot, man, let everybody know where can they find you and tag along in your adventures.
Yeah, so you can find me on YouTube. Kidmoto22 is my YouTube channel. And Kidmoto22 is also where you can find me on Instagram. And then if you didn't know, I'm also one of the members of the Five Dirty Bikers podcast. So you can go to www.fivedirtybikers.com and you can find links to our podcast and everything on there. So there's 5 of us that are involved in a podcast that we put out weekly, motorcycling centric podcasts, much like what Denver does. Ours is a little bit different. Probably there's a lot more fucks in ours. So, but and we do that. We put out that podcast weekly. So yeah, those will be probably the three main places that you can find me would be, like I said, YouTube and Instagram, and then Five Dirty Bikers podcast. So.
Well, perfect, man. Brian, hey, thanks for coming on and jumping on a milepost of the Vtwin Life.
Absolutely, man. And for those of you, if you do follow me already or follow Denver, make sure that you check out what Denver's doing. His podcast is growing. It's great. Brings another unique take and flavor to the motorcycling community. And I really appreciate everything you're doing, man.
Hey, thank you, man. And like I said, likewise, and enjoy watching your stuff. And now I'm slowly, getting over to that YouTube side. Going to be bringing not just, these here, but I got some plans for some motorcycle videos. But now we're going to be having also people have the option. You can go hop on Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever you want to stream your podcast. I think I'm on almost a dozen different platforms and some I've never heard of that I found. But now
Yep.
you have the option to also, watch the videos on YouTube. I'm learning and growing, man. What can you say?
Yeah, and it's all part of the process. I kind of say that you just, if you take a little bit of opportunity to up your game, just every once in a while, try something different, put something else out there. As long as you're having fun, do your thing, man.
And that's exactly it. If you're having fun doing it, then just do it and have fun.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Denver, very much, man.
Yeah, man. Hey, thank you. Have fun. Ride safe, man. Enjoy those miles.
Yeah, will do.
All right. Later.
Later.